Welcome to Real Talk. I am your host, Paul Britton. Super excited to have everybody here, everybody watching, everybody interested in movies. And I have some spooky movies. That's right, we are in horror movie month. So that's what's being released. That's what I'm watching. I know horror movies are not, I'm not an expert. Okay. If it's not zombie related or exorcism related, it's probably not my jam. Found footage related, it's probably not my jam. But there are some times when I actually do end up liking stuff, and one of those instances happened back in 2022 when a movie called Smile was released. And it turned out that that was just the Kickstarter for a franchise. The second one comes out this past weekend, Smile 2, because, that's what you call your sequels. You call them 2. It's like Smile 2. That's what you get. Parker Finn is the dude that brings us the Smile movies. He had never made a movie before. Obviously, he'd worked on stuff, but never directed, never wrote. And he wrote and directed these movies, and it's like, wow. The first movie is for a directorial debut, that is amazing, and it's really good. And this is, man, he's got he's got a moneymaker, man. That's there is absolutely no denying that. I really liked the first one. It got 3 tacos plus guac. And so I was super excited for the second one. I popped the first one in, popped it in. I found it streaming. I believe it was on Paramount Plus, and watched it, and in preparation, and it was still good. It was still good. And so the second one comes to us, and I was excited. So the trailers have been out for a while, so we know this time, the original, the conceit of the original, there is an entity who attaches onto people, makes them see things that are not there, and makes them do things that they would normally not do, basically drives them crazy and feeds off of their trauma. And until it has satiated itself and there is no more trauma to feed itself, and hops to another person. And how does that happen, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. It happens because the entity makes the person it has latched onto kill themselves in front of another person. The other person sees that trauma and is then ripe for the picking of this entity. And the title Smile comes from the fact that the entity in the visions that you see of it is always like smiling, very weird smile. Look, if you've been to a movie, watched a television show, watched a sporting event in the past month, you have seen a trailer for Smile 2, so you know the smile I'm talking about. I really like the conceit of these movies. They're scary. They're traumatic, and there's just something hanging over them that is just like, it's so unsettling. And this one picks that up very well. The movie starts so basically you have basically no more than a week. You have a week to until the entity forces you to kill yourself, and to move on to its next victim. And so the last movie ended with a passing of the entity, let's say. And this movie picks up at 7 days after that, and we find the sort of like the boyfriend policeman character is visibly just at his wit's end, and he appears to be going to to do something to avoid killing himself to pass the entity on. By the way, we found out in the first movie that you don't necessarily have to kill yourself to pass the entity on if you can create a traumatic murder that allows the entity to latch in front of someone, so that allows the entity to pass on. That works as well. And so that's, it's pretty clear that's what this police officer is doing, and we find the entity get passed on, and and it just so happens that the person it's passed on to is the former high school friend, now sort of, supplier of Vicodin to a pop star who has had some trauma in her life, we find out. And uh the thing that separates so the thing about the first movie is it was passed on from just a random woman to a psychologist who works at, basically at a trauma center. And um and we find out, the trauma of this character, of this woman's past, and it's sad, and it's difficult, and the movie is difficult. And this is a little different in that you find out that a lot of the trauma of this person's past is brought on by herself. And so you have a very different relationship with this character than you did from the first one. But also it also feels almost more sad, because you see that she's actually, putting forth an effort to, and she's almost getting over over the past traumas, and it's like she's just dragged right back down. And it's difficult. This is not an easy movie to watch. These smile movies are not, not the feel good movies of the year. Going in, happy ending, out the door. That's not happening. And the ending of this movie, when the trauma beast is passed on, is, let's just say, fascinating what they do. And my hope is that they take the franchise in a different direction. And that's what that's where this sets up, honestly. It sets up the next episode to be very different, and which is good. Like, I how often do we need to watch one character trying to convince other people that they're not crazy? The one other way that this movie, so one of the things that the trauma beast does is, the trauma demon does, is it causes you to hallucinate and to imagine things that are not. The one thing about the first one that I thought really worked was that at some point during the hallucinations, it the scale increases, and instead of just, hallucinating little images, it becomes a much bigger scale hallucination. And that was very subtle and very unexpected and very shocking in the first one. And this time, it that that aspect of it actually didn't work quite as well for me. It just felt a little heavy-handed. Um, I really liked this movie, but I definitely preferred the first one. But this one's really good too. So here at Real Talk, we do tacos instead of stars. And if you feel like you want to give something a little extra bump, instead of doing half a taco like you would do half a star, you add guac. Why? Because nobody eats half a fucking taco. So I'm doing three. Like I mentioned at the start, I did 3 plus guac for the first one, and I this one just feels like a very solid 3 to me. And that's where we land. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Three tacos is really good. I would watch it again. That's what that tells you. The next movie I want to talk about is also in a franchise. This is a much smaller franchise. It's called it's the VHS franchise, and this episode it was called VHS Beyond. Okay, and if you don't know about this franchise, the conceit of it is that there are smaller segments, 4 or 5 small movies, 20, 15-20 minute movies with a wraparound that doesn't connect the segments, but rather is an ongoing thing, or that is, that adds an extra segment to it. And the latest version, by the way, streaming on Shudder, VHS Beyond, is sci-fi horror. And the original VHSs, the idea was you're finding a VHS tape, and so it's they're placed they take place in the 80s and 90s. These are all like, what, we could do found footage with security cameras, and we could do found footage with people's cell phones and that sort of thing. And so none of them are set in the past. They're all taking place now. And I'm just gonna be honest, I wasn't into all of these. It's always the case, by the way. I mean, with the VHS franchise, if there's 5, you're probably gonna really like one, like 2 or 3, and then one's gonna be like meh. I felt like 3 of these were meh, and 2 of them were meh. One, this is just not for me at all, but I appreciate what they're doing, and one was fan-fucking-tastic. So let's go through them. There's one which is the first segment is called Stork. Oh, first of all, we'll talk about the wraparound. The wraparound is called where is it? Oh, it's not. I'm not seeing it. The wraparound, it was basically like, hey, I have proof. We have found video proof of aliens. I don't remember what it was called. It was good. The wraparound is never like the best thing. The wraparound is just kind of like filler, and it works in segments. It's like a faux documentary rather than a found footage, and it's interesting and it works. The first segment was called Stork, and it's basically just a first person shooter game. Like, if you're into that, awesome, cool, maybe you like this. But trying to tell a first person, like, this entire story of a first person shooter game in like a 15-minute, like, the story part is just like it's just weak. It's just weak. There's really nothing very interesting going on there. The next segment, called Dream Girl, the conceit was really good. The idea is that you're in Bollywood. There's a guy who a paparazzi, and he's trying to get an interview with, like, the it girl, who turns out to not be exactly who we believe she is. This turns into quickly a hardcore horror movie. I would have been really interested if it laid off the horror. Maybe there was a little bit of horror and just was way more sci-fi, but that's okay. This is a horror thing. And because the turn that it takes, it doesn't really take an interesting turn. It just goes like straight down horror, and it's just like, nah, whatever. The next segment, I believe, was called Live and Let Die. This one was one of the ones I liked. And the idea is that there is a group of friends that are treating one of their friends to tandem skydiving birthday present. They're all going tandem skydiving. They're on a little itty bitty plane. If you've ever been skydiving, you know what I'm talking about. And while they're up in the sky, they encounter an alien ship, and the army attacks. Army, Air Force, whatever, attacks, and they have to then deal with the aftermath of that and escape. And It's pretty interesting. Like it works. It really does work. The next segment is called Fur Babies, and this one was directed by Justin Long, who I love. He's an actor. This, I believe, was his directorial debut. Um, uh, I want to like anything he does. That's just where I am with Justin Long, if you've ever seen him before. And he was in a movie with Kevin Smith called Tusk. And this basically picks up where Tusk left off, I guess you could say. Almost like imagine if you know anything about Tusk, and I'm sorry if you don't, imagine, if you will, somebody saw the movie Tusk and was like, you know what, I'm going to try that, and that's where this comes in. I see what he's going for. I get the humor. It is funny. It is not funny, and it's really gross. That's, I would never watch it again. I appreciate it. Much like Tusk, I would never watch again, although Tusk I didn't even appreciate. The last one was fucking fantastic. It's called Stowaway. The idea is that there's you get the impression she's a grad student, or maybe a documentarian, or just like a researcher of some kind, who there have been anomalies being reported, and she is exploring one of them and discovers uh, an alien vessel, for lack of a better term. And while she's on the vessel, she realizes that the aliens are coming aboard, so she hides. And then after she hides, she comes out and she sees that some of the creatures that the aliens have collected, there's a spider, there's an octopus, have been encased in a jelly, and then she also sees that the aliens are also similarly encased in a jelly. And oh, by the way, one of the important things is, while she was walking around, she hurts herself. These little little flies come down. They're not flies, they're like nanobots. These little nanobots, that's exactly what they are. These little nanobots fly down and fix her finger when she after she cuts her finger. And it's not perfect. This is really important. The way that the nanobot fixes her finger, it's not perfect. There's a scar. It's a gnarly scar, but it's fixed, and so once she comes out of hiding and sees everybody's suspended in goo, the ship takes off suddenly, and you see her get thrown to the ground, and she gets up, and her arm is broken, and the nanobots come and the way they fix her arm is it's just off a little bit. And then she starts doing hyperspace jumps, and the interaction between her and the nanobots is horrific and fascinating. I give the last one 5 tacos. I give the last one 5 tacos. The 5 tacos is only for the last segment, Stowaways. If you want to catch it on Shudder, and you just want to see the last one, I don't blame you. Overall, it's 2 tacos plus guac. Most of the segments just were not interesting. Either not interesting to me, the first 2, or just not for me at all, and that's Fur Babies. And only 2 of them were really worth watching. So that's okay. It's fine. I liked it. I would never watch the whole thing again, but I would absolutely watch Stowaways again in a heartbeat. Last but not least, we have a nifty little 1-hour movie that popped up on YouTube called Milk and Cereal. Again, it's another found footage movies. I do like found footage movies. And this one is made by a dude named Curry Barker. He is the writer director. He's also the star. He plays a character who goes by the name of Milk. The interesting thing about this is, like, the clearly somebody had the idea of, oh, wouldn't it be funny to call your movie Milk and Cereal and change the name of cereal from cereal as in, for breakfast food, to cereal as in serial killer, and just was like, I'm going to figure out how to to shoehorn that in. Um, and it works out fine, other than like just nobody's an adult and going by the name Milk. It's just, I refuse to believe that. But this is really interesting. And so basically what happens is there are these guys, they run a YouTube prank channel. It's very popular, a super popular YouTube prank channel. One of them runs a prank for one of the guys on his birthday, during a birthday party. And it turns out that the guy who's getting pranked had also similarly set up a separate prank for his friend on his birthday. And it ends up, because of that, escalating everything further than what anybody wanted. And oh, by the way, somebody has a secret, and the cereal part of the Milk and Cereal name probably gives that away, what the secret is. It works. It really does work. It's really interesting. Is it great? No, it's not great. The acting is, YouTube quality acting, and some of the dialogue is a little clunky, and part the clunkiest dialogue is obvious clunky dialogue, which doesn't help the clunkier dialogue. Fantastic conceit though, but the right length. There, it really it says this is what I'm about, and I'm going for it, and it goes forward, and it works. It just works. I really enjoyed this. I hope you should really check it out. Kudos to the guys for making this. It's 3 tacos. It's not amazing, but it's 100% worth. 100% worth your time. That's our show for today. This is Real to Real Talk. I am Paul Britton. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. Next week, Sergio Barrera, godfather of the pod, is coming back on, and I am so excited. We're going to be talking Venom. We're going to be talking Conclave. We're going to be talking Salem's Lot, which came out a couple weeks ago, but I've been holding on to it until Sergio could come on, because he is the resident Stephen King guy. So we've got 3 movies to talk about next week, and I'm really excited about it. Hope you'll join us then. It should be on a Tuesday, normal time. Thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful